Does it mean that it's more difficult to influence a person if he keeps his thoughts in purity?
Yes, absolutely. When faced with various religions, it is very difficult to influence Muslims. They are in a constant connection with the egregore. They do namaz every day and read prayers on a daily basis. They are constantly under some kind of a dome, so it is very difficult to influence them. When you start impacting a person, he begins to address in a prayer. Indeed, many of them are very different from those who come to church only when everything is bad in their life. They come to pray, and then for 5 years they forget about God, some canons, and so on. Muslims, as a rule, passionately believe and passionately give energy to their egregore. And this egregore protects them very well. That's why it is very difficult to work to make any kind of influence on a true Muslim believer.
Is this some kind of a good egregore?
Well, for them, yes. This egregore is good for adepts who contribute good energy to it.
How do you sense it? For instance, you have found an energy trace of such person. What's next? Do you try to drag him somehow to visualize this threat and you fail? Or how do you do that?
It disappears. I cannot get a grip on it. I focus on it, but something immediately knocks me out of the flow, just like that. Or I visualize a person in front of me clearly and can affect him even at a mental level, but some image is not created in my mind at all. I even look at a photo, reproduce an image, but it vanishes from my mind. Thus, I can clearly see that a person is covered with something.
Does this only work with Muslims?
It does for me. Nowadays, there are very few people among Christians who truly believe. Even those who write in their comments that God is in the soul, that they are all faithful believers, but in reality they are not. Even most often they write that all this is a sin, but then ask in a private message how to make a rubbing spell. Such cases also happen.
A rubbing spell?
A rubbing spell.
What is it?
It means pulling off luck or some benefits, beauty, money, success. In other words, pulling off something good from another person. There is shifting when we dump some crap on someone else, and there is pulling when we take something good from another person.
Zhanna, could you please tell us if there are people to whom you cannot connect or influence them by various magic methods in any way?
There are such people. If there is ritual protection on a person, it's not even possible to connect through cards. If someone has put ritual protection over him, or if an entity is in a person's service, it is also difficult to do that. It happens that a person has a strong ancestral protection. He has a powerful, prosperous, rich kin from generation to generation, and even looking at the cards, you cannot read information from him. He is covered as impenetrable. It happens.
Most people don't know that Muslims can't be cursed or hexed. The jinn and lesser demons can't even mess with Muslims if they're practicing correctly. Our attachment to energy kind of works like a cup, and if you're praying 5 times a day, this cup will be full. Now you can do this with any god. I don't really care what god you pray to. But building that deep level of connection with a god, it's going to fill that cup to the brim. And when negative energy and lesser demons and jinn try to come into your life, it'll just overflow right off the top of the cup. There's no more room for anything else. Now, the way this was explained to me, they reference bathing. If someone were to bathe 5 times a day, it would be actually impossible for them to be dirty and smell like clap that ass and booty sweat. Now, although I do this with Asmodeus, it makes perfect sense why people who follow Islam don't have negative attachments. A jinn or lesser demon would not be able to bind to somebody who is praying and working with a god 5 times a fucking day. But the tricky part that you really need to be aware of is you have to make sure you're worshiping a god or a spirit that cares about you. Worshipping a false god or calling them by the incorrect name is going to leave that gap, and it's going to allow something else to come in instead. And just going to church on Sunday is not enough to keep you protected, especially in modern day society.